Welcome back, everyone, to the Temple of Technology, and another episode of So Here's the Deal, an Arist Entertainment webcast with myself, the idiot with a microphone. And today we're doing for the first time ever, we're doing a sequel to another So Here's the Deal. We are going to talk about Final Fantasy III's 3D remake again with my friend Smoke. So I'm going to head over here to the collaboration room. And there's Smoke right there. Hello, Smoke. How are you?
Not bad. I've been worse.
Yeah, well, all right. So, when I did my last episode about Final Fantasy III, I noticed that not only had you followed my Twitch stream, but you had started playing Final Fantasy III, the 3D remake. I saw that on Steam, the same place we played it, and I thought to myself, "Boy, I'd love to get him on to talk about this to see how it goes." And as it turns out, through the course of the stream that you dropped into, and I found out that you were leveling up so well because you were using a mod to play the game, that I was not using the mod to play the game.
That's a polite way of putting it. The more blunt version would be I was cheating my dick off.
Oh, hey, there's the language. It's okay though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're not for
Okay.
kids. Fuck it.
Okay. Oh, good. Yay.
So,
Yeah.
my one of my first questions to you, because here in our introduction section, we talk about our relationship to the media in question. So this is a video game, Final Fantasy III. I have played many, many, many hours of Final Fantasy III, not only in this most recent rewatch, but when I had my 3DS. I had this game and I played it a lot. And I did not complete the game when I played it on my handheld device all the way through. Did you have a similar experience with Final Fantasy III earlier on in life, or did you just start out thinking, I don't have a lot of time for this, I'm just going to use a mod to play the game?
My first experience with the Final Fantasy series, I believe, was like 5 or 6. Okay, and the thing is, the Final Fantasy series started coming out when I was in the military, and I had no time whatsoever to do the video games and stuff. Which I also didn't have a computer or anything to run it. But I remember playing Final Fantasy VII and loving it. And okay, wait a minute, my brain locked for a moment.
Final Fantasy VII, I have a similar experience. When I moved here to Seattle in 1997, I had bought a PlayStation, and I had bought Final Fantasy VII to go along with that PlayStation, but I had not played it. It was still in the shrink wrap when I moved here to Seattle,
Wow.
because I had left almost all of my stuff back in the Tri-Cities, moved over with a car full of clothes, sleeping on my friend's couch in their spare room while I went to work, and that was it. And then that winter, I over Christmas break, I sat down in the tiny room that I had, playing on a tiny CRT monitor like this. I played Final Fantasy VII straight through, with the three or
Oh,
four discs that you had to swap in discs to do, right? So I
oh,
have,
yeah, I remember that part. That was such a pain in the butt. Yes.
so I'm really looking forward in my Steam playthroughs, because I've got Final Fantasy VII right there as a complete game. I don't have to swap discs out to do. I can just play all the
Do,
way through and not have to worry about
do,
anything.
do you have the remake? The remaster, I should
I
say.
do, yeah, I do have it.
Okay. The thing is, I never finished Final Fantasy VII because I was using somebody else's uh, uh, console. I'm not much of a console guy. Okay. I am when it comes to games, I am a computer person. I need my keyboard and not mouse, trackball.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So, but the reason I started playing uh, the number 3 remake was because I'm assuming your viewers know about the game called Magic the Gathering.
I believe they're familiar with it. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Now, for people who may not know, the last few years or so, they have been doing this thing called something expanded universes or something like that, where basically they take other IPs and make sets of them. I got into Magic again because I was taking a break. I got back into it again because they made a Fallout set. And I admitted I am a freaky Fallout fanboy. That could be an entire another video for the record. Um, and you'd have problems shutting me up.
You
But
know, I own many versions of Fallout, and you and I could do video games as a regular set piece series because
okay,
there's nothing that says that I need to be in the top seat all the time. You could be in the top seat, and I could be as a guest.
well, like I said, that's a different video. But the thing is, when I found out that Fallout was in Magic, because I love Fallout, I love Magic, I went out of my way to get a full set. And I'm using quotes on that because they have changed the format of Magic so much um, that you don't always know whether or not you're getting the full set anymore because of what they call collector packs.
Yeah.
But regardless, so I got into it. I've been playing for a while again. And then recently, they came out with a Final Fantasy set of Magic cards. And I went to one of the pre-release events, and I pulled some cards that were very, very expensive, like $90, 150. There was a couple others, but yeah, I got really lucky in that. And part of my brain said, we got to play those games again. And so at one point, I came home and looked up on Steam. I actually bought the Final Fantasy VIII remake for the number 3 remake, but I started playing the remake of 3, and I powered through it. So, in regards to the cheats, okay,
And there's
there
nothing
is.
wrong with playing with mods. I play a lot of games with mods.
Oh God, yeah.
But so I looked
Any
at the. You can even name the mods that you were using here if you want to. That's fine.
WeMod.
WeMod, right?
It is a very, very nice program. It's very easy to use. It, uh, it's smooth, very little bugs, um, and you don't need a lot of technical knowledge. Now, I have another one that I use once in a while when they don't have something for WeMod, and that's called Cheat Engine. That is one you have to be careful with because, from what I understand, some websites that have the cheat engine tables that you need to use them also have viruses, malware, etc. But you can do a lot more with cheat engine if you have the skills. Me, I admit it, I don't have the skills, at least not enough to make my own tables. But yeah, I firmly believe that the most important thing in a video game is story. And if I'm hitting my head on a brick wall of a fight, I'm not getting the story, I'm getting frustrated. Okay. And because I'm getting on in years and I understand my reflexes are not what they used to be, sometimes I need an assist. I need assist. Admittedly, you don't really need reflexes to play Final Fantasy, but there are still some fights in there, let's face it, that are frustrating as hell.
Yeah, they're really frustrating until you get into a certain rhythm, and especially with Final Fantasy III and its job systems. Once you nail down 2 damage dealers, 2 support guys, you can have your support guys just guard all the time, and your damage chambers do everything until you need to heal or cast use an item to get around that. And then what I found specifically with this remake here, and this was a feature of the DS version as well, is the autoplay, which doubles
Yes.
the speed of the fight. And then it doubles the speed of the fight. It halves the animations for everything. You just surrender control. And so if you've essentially done AI scripting to get your characters to do what you want them to do, and then boom, away they went. And once you nail in your attack patterns, and it's just math. You're just doing math all over the place. All right, how much math do I need to do today? And if you don't like doing math, boy, is this a game for you. Because when you get to the final bits of this game, when you're in the world of darkness and the Crystal Tower, and the enemies all have 50,000 hit points, or 200,000 hit points, or 100,000 hit points, right? And you have no idea how much damage your dudes are doing, because you're either under 10,000 or you're way over 10,000.
Yeah.
And I finished my second playthrough this morning before we talked. And I went and looked at my stats and saw that my best hit was 83,000 points of damage. My best single shot was 83,000 points of damage. It's like, wow, that's intense. But I know that I can boost that even higher. I know I can do over 100,000 points of damage if my level go up high enough.
Question.
Yeah.
Are you counting when they say 15 hits as one hit, or do you mean? Because when I was playing, it's like you could bop 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 bop.
Yeah.
You could hit anywhere between one and who knows how many times.
That's
So
correct.
it's still counted as one source of damage.
One source of damage. So
Okay.
one action
Yeah.
is what
Right.
what the game tracks. And so
Okay.
yeah, my biggest hit was 34 hits. And so
I've stopped counting.
what the game counts for me. The game does the math.
I wasn't paying attention.
And why that's relevant? Well, see, you didn't go to that config 2 screen as we determined on the last stream.
Yeah, because I was cheating.
Because you were cheating, you didn't realize your characters could run everywhere if you were to tweak your user settings in there. But you could also check your achievements in by one of the mods, or in the final airship, the Invincible. The second guy, you can check your bestiary, and you can go check your achievements. And the achievements are like, for example, my first big playthrough, it took about 36 hours, and I got 3 stars, right? It was still under the curve, but I knew I could do it faster, a lot faster. And I could have finished the game 5 hours before I did right now. I was under the concept, maybe I'll just level up as an Onion Knight for a while and I'll do this. And I was like, no. I have 4 guys who have level 99. They're just going to go fight. We're over level 55. I got 4 guys who have 99 jobs. I've got all their ultimate weapons. I can just go do this right now. All I have to do is just find a good save point and go in there and do it. And I did that. And so I went with my final party was a level 99 warrior, a level 99 dragoon, a level 99 red mage, and a level 99 white mage. And I could have left the red mage at home. Essentially what they were was another cure in the rotation as I went in. But
Yeah.
I wanted to play the red mage. I wanted to have the damage. I wanted to be able to cast that black magic, because I had a black mage in my first run through. In fact, I had a black mage who had leveled up to Magus in the first run through. And that was just, after a while, it's just useless. Once you get a dragoon or a warrior or a monk or a black belt who can do these intense hits of damage, like those 83,000 points of damage, right? Which was a black belt hit. And that black belt was like level 30. I can't imagine what that's going to be like at level 99. And I'm going to find out, because there's an achievement right there in the game, which is level everybody up, get all the master cards, get all the level 99 jobs all the way through. But there's also the bits of, did you get all the chests in the game? Currently, I did not get all the chests in the game. I have a
Oh,
98% chest completion, and I don't know if there's two chests somewhere in the Iron Giant dungeon that I need to get, or if I missed something leveling up. And so I'm gonna have to go front to back everywhere there's a chest and look to see if I got all the chests. And there's one monster I missed going back through this NES playthrough. I got every monster in the World of Darkness but one. And if I can't go back into the World of Darkness to go kill that monster, guess what I did? I saved right before I went in. Now I'll just go fight that whole end battle again until I get every single monster. Just
there
because
you
I
go.
want that badge. I want that Chivo. I have 14 of
Completionist,
8
huh?
I have 14 of 18 badges on Steam for this game. And you know what I want? 18 of 18 badges. That's exactly what I want. And the way to do that is to level all my characters to level 99, to level all jobs to level 99, kill all monsters, and open all treasure chests. And that for me is when I'm ready to move on from a game. I have mastery. And I've played New Game Pluses on so many different games, trying to eke out that last little percentage point. And having a mod like WeMod would give me that in a heartbeat. It would
Yes,
it
it
would
would.
make sure that I got all the monsters and killed them all because I would just hook them with point of damage and they would drop dead. And when I was a
Yeah.
game
Well,
developing games for a living, we had God mode all the time. And we had slash commands that you could do to make sure that you could just kill shit.
yeah.
Because you need to test out how the game works. You don't need to play the game all the way through, although that was certainly part of the QA process when I was designing games. I got really, really good at playing games fast and efficiently. But so far, so much so that I was outperforming on a standard playthrough people in the office who were using the God mode. And then somebody would tell me, I had one sales manager one time tell me he was so proud that he had soloed this boss in Terra. And he soloed it as a warrior. He did a great job soloing this warrior. I said, well, yeah, you're a tank. You're supposed to be able to do that. He says, oh, yeah, it took me 25 minutes, but I did that. And I said, it took you 25 minutes to kill this monster. He goes, yeah. So are you sure it was 25? You know, like stop, get a cup of coffee or something. He goes, no, it took me 25 minutes. I did it with my warrior character. And I said, all right, I want to show you something. And I went and killed it in 4 minutes using no mods, no anything, simply because he was happy with the way he was playing the game. I didn't want to harsh
Right.
his enjoyment of the game, but he sucked at it. He really sucked at playing the game that he was selling to the world. And that was a problem for me. That I had people in the office who loved to play the game, but they weren't great evangelists for the game. And that's one of the reasons why I have this So Here's the Deal webcast, is because I love media and I love games and I love movies and TV and all these things. Not everybody loves the things that I love. Not everybody likes to play video games the way I like to play video games. You know, I played Mass Effect for a solid year. I live streamed a bunch of it to YouTube and Twitch, and nobody paid attention except for like 5 people who loved Mass Effect as much as I did. And finding people who like the things that I like, that's why I've got this 2-up setting right here, so we can sit and chat and talk about all these sorts of things. So we've gone through introductions into first impressions, and we've even talked bits about the end game. So I'm going to ask you, what was your favorite part about Final Fantasy 3, having finished the game?
Oh, wow. Um, you're.
What parts did
Well,
you enjoy? Let's just go with that. What parts did you
yeah.
enjoy, and then you can pick a favorite, if one's even possible.
See, overall, okay, the overall experience I liked. There was no one thing in the game that really stood out to me. Um, the thing is, I mean, it's one of the first type of games out there, that the first JRPGs, and I mean, wow. I I know that some people are going to think this is heretical, but uh, nowadays, uh, it ain't that great of a game. I mean, it doesn't hold up anywhere near as a lot of the old ones, in my opinion. Just my opinion. This does not reflect those in making. So here's the deal, or anything like that.
So
The parent
the
complains.
uh, the thing about opinions is that they cannot be argued; they can only be rationalized. And so if you feel it's not that great of a game, it's not that great of a game. It doesn't mean it's not fun,
Oh
right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
like some really shitty movies.
yep.
I like some really shitty television shows, and I think watching these things, how awful they are, while I'm watching, going, "Oh, this is awful. Look at this." Or when the guest star goes on, it's like, "Oh, the narrative demands that that guy's going to have a problem with that guy over there because they're giving each other eyes." It's like, "Oh, look at that." And so, crime drama for me is an exercise of spotting tropes, and occasionally, the crime drama is cut with enough humor or romance or other elements that I can forget the narrative and I can just drop into enjoying television again. And then they'll hit a trope and I'll be popped right back. It's like, oh, the narrative demands this. Oh, that woman's pregnant. Well, that woman's going to give birth because she's 9 months pregnant. Guess what? They wouldn't show us a pregnant lady if they weren't going to show us a baby. And
Chekhov's gun.
if somebody has a gun and somebody literally says, and the show I'm watching right now called Sullivan's Crossing, uh, a character says it's dangerous to be shooting guns around here. You guys should be more safe. And then a guy walks on screen holding a gun. And he says, "Hey, just put the gun down." He goes, "What? Why?" And boom, that guy's gun goes off and shoots somebody. And trust me, I hate guns. I have handled guns, and I've had guns just go off, right? Because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and I put guns down and never touched them again. So I know
Hmm.
from personal experience what happens when you've got a loaded gun. It goes off because that's what they're supposed to do. Now, there are safeties to put on loaded guns. There are safeties
Yeah.
for firearms handling. And when you're properly trained, that's when you should have a gun. If you're not properly trained, you shouldn't have a gun. So when you have a narrative that involves guns, somebody always adds the element of somebody doesn't know how to use the gun and somebody does. And those viewpoints contrast in entertainment. So for video games, especially for things like Final Fantasy III, which has a job system, my favorite part about it is that job system. It was the first game to really have a system where you could customize your play for your personal preferences. So if you want to have four guys who do nothing but hit things with their fists, you can have four guys who hit things with their fists. And they never wear armor and they never use weapons. They just go bap, 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 bap. And it's a viable play style because the game is balanced to the point where, yeah, if you don't want to have a wizard caster, you could have a bag full of potions and a bag full of status items, and every so often one of your four guys goes, "Yeah, cure that guy. Okay, cure this guy. Okay, cure this guy." And your healing is the fact that you have a lot of hit points and you're killing things as rapidly as possible. Or you could have four wizards if you wanted. You could have four wizards who do nothing but cast cures or damage notifications on each other, and it's a viable way to play the game. So that
Yeah.
job system for me is the most important part about Final Fantasy III. It's more important than the plot because once you finish the game, you can go back and play all the jobs if you want to, and there's no time limit. You could play this game forever, literally forever, just enjoying leveling up your leveling up your characters. And for me, that was the best part, the absolute best
I
part.
I I see what you're saying with that. I do the same thing, the leveling up, uh, except for I do it with 7 Days to Die,
Mm.
um, or some other survival crafting game. I love survival, but yeah, Final Fantasy III was definitely an early game for the class system.
It was
So
1990. It was
yeah,
the first game to have it.
maybe on the uh, what do you call it? The PlayStation. but before then, there was Ultima,
Yep. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
and that's
Ultimate.
now,
Definitely.
mind you, the one of the big differences is that Ultima you couldn't change classes, but yeah, you could do that with Final Fantasy 3, and it's good for that. Yeah, well, I liked the idea of a simple um, fight. Okay, for the Ultima series, yeah, your location needed it was very important to it, um, and sometimes it was a pain in the ass because you could get trapped, and no matter what, you were dead. But yeah, you're not quite uh, restricted like that with the well, I should say that version of the Final Fantasy combat, because it stayed very similar to that for a while. I can't remember when it was they actually started putting real time in for uh, for your uh, for your turns. Do you remember what I'm talking about here?
Yeah. I do, and that's something I'll get into in later videos to be sure. Turn-based animated role-playing games like Final Fantasy are really good for a lot of things. I spent 10 years designing and playing Terra, which is true action combat was the tagline, and there was no targeting at all in that game. Your weapons are this long. Guess what? That's the range of your attack. You need to get that close to your enemy. So if you had a 15-foot lance, you could be 15 feet away from your enemy. If you have a 3-foot sword, you could be 3 feet away from your enemy. And you had to do that. You had to get close to your enemy. You had to position yourself near at the right spot for your attack to go off. But all you had to do was hit the attack button, and the attack would go off. And if there was an enemy within range, the attack would hit the enemy. So you didn't have to worry about tab targeting or getting trapped on fighting the wrong guy, like a game like City of Heroes, which I play a lot extensively. In fact, this is the longest break playing Final Fantasy 3. This is the longest break I have taken from City of Heroes in the last 4 years. I haven't played City of
I
Heroes in 3 weeks because
Yeah,
it
I see
captures. Go ahead.
your status on Discord has COH on it, and yeah, I used to play City Heroes myself, and that's why I didn't know you were really referring to City Heroes there. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, there's the homecoming servers are fantastic. You should come play with me. I would love to share that game with some more people. I've had a couple of our friends, the Dark Ones, have joined me, and they played for a night and then never played again. So if people enjoy City of Heroes and they want to be a part of the game, hit me up on the server. Trust me,
Um,
I will play. At the drop of a
I
hat, I will
hate to
play
tell
City of
you,
Heroes.
I got really burned out on MMOs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, City Heroes is good and everything, but yeah, MMOs in general have too much grind.
Oh, absolutely grind. Shut up and
Yeah,
hunt. That's the Korean philosophy. Shut up and hunt. Don't complain about the leveling curve. Just go hunt. And
that's
it's a holdover
that's
from
not
games like this, Final Fantasy 3, right? Where the grind is everything. You need to grind a certain number of levels before you can get to a certain amount of content.
see the thing. You asked about my favorite stuff. It's easier for me to say what I disliked about it.
Well, this what this game is
Okay,
about. This what this
and
series is about
n-
too. Yeah.
okay, number one is grind. Okay, we were talking about WeMod before. One of the favorite things that I had with that was turning off random encounters. Okay, because for F's sake, oh my God, it's like you're so close to the exit, you're gonna get mother. Why? Anyway, yeah, it's that was annoying as all types of hell. I there was no way to avoid it. I mean, I understand that the gaming industry has moved on. Okay, they have evolved stuff, but there are still things that game companies do that break the 10 commandments of writing games. Now, I don't remember the entire list, but number one is eh, no unskippable anything. Okay, if there's a cutscene that's very important, fine, make it unskippable the first time, or give them an option to watch it again or something along those lines. But if you want to get up and go do something, you shouldn't have to wait half an hour to watch a cutscene. Then, oh, and this is somewhere in the list is stop restricting save points. Because I mean, you said yourself you had to choose a very specific place to save the game,
Yep.
and I that's another thing that I always found a pain in the ass. So, all right, I'm sorry, I I didn't mean to go too over the top on that.
This is a discussion show, so we
Okay,
discuss things. And
well,
and to be honest, I also don't like uh, the strategy of microsaves. I like to play a game, but you must microsave to succeed at Final Fantasy 3. You have
oh
to.
yes,
You have to make
absolutely.
sure that you don't lose X hours of content. Because if you look at the first stream I did for Final Fantasy 3, I forgot to save. And I had to redo, I had to go back, restart the game, and run through again. And I was able to do it in half the time, right? But then I
Wow,
realized that I screwed it up. I had screwed it up entirely. So I went back, restarted the game, and ran it through again. But I did that
I
off
feel you.
stream. And so it's simply, since I was able to do it fast, I was able to do it efficiently. It wasn't that much of a horrible problem. But this is the intro to the game. This is the very first mission, and you can fuck it up. You can fuck
Oh,
it up to the point that your game is unplayable.
I feel you on that one. Even when I was cheating, right? There's one part that you have to get these special shoes to go across this bog.
Yes.
Guess what? If you're cheating, if you're cheating all types of different ways, you go there without the shoes. Guess what happens? And I hadn't saved for over an hour.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, it's a big kick in the nuts. It was awful. But
Huh.
okay.
Wonderful. So another thing that I dislike about the game.
Mm, yes.
Typically, I like to focus on positives, but since we're talking about dislikes,
Mhm.
I dislike I dislike suboptimal choices. So there's a badge we've talked about earlier for completing all the jobs. 90% of those jobs are crap. In fact, 90% of those jobs are made irrelevant by the basic jobs that you can do with basic role-playing roles. And so there's a bard in the game. No one will ever play that bard. No one would ever do that except for as a challenge or to get the badge or, raising up to level 99, right? There's no
Right.
reason to take the bard in progression other than, well, it's Final Fantasy and we have bards. There's no reason to take the ninja in progression. There's no reason whatsoever to take the Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is a character who trades his own hit points to do damage to the enemy. And well, that's great until you get to the end game and well, you're obliterated, right? If your hit points aren't above a certain total, you lose. So you take the Dark Knight as a character once you have already maxed out your hit points by leveling up a whole bunch of different other jobs. You don't take it during progression. And so it shouldn't even be offered during progression. You shouldn't be offered a suboptimal choice because someone will take it and someone will spend 20 minutes tanking a boss that they don't have to tank. They could just kill it.
like they say. It's like they say in writing. It's like, is this the most interesting thing that the character is doing?
Yeah.
It's like, is this the most effective class for the character?
Yeah. So the
Is
Red
this
Mage is one of my favorite classes, but you don't need to play the Red Mage very long. You shouldn't take the Red Mage to level 99. You should swap it out for something else as fast as possible. And the character you should swap it out for is called the Magus, which is the ultimate Black Mage. So you should give up on using weapons as a magic caster, and you should go cast magic, or you should go use weapons. The hybrid class that can do both isn't viable unless you have the very end game character of the Onion Knight, which is the character for Final Fantasy III, which is the best at everything that best did. It is the Mary Sue of all Mary Sues. And there's a very viable strategy for making everyone Onion Knights and just blowing through the game like nobody's business. But that character is only effective at level 90, job level 90 and higher. Because at job level 92, it starts adding to your stats dramatically. And so, like, level 92, it adds like 10% to every one of your stats. And then 93, it adds another 10% to all of your stats. So by the time you get to 99, you are this unstoppable god engine of destruction, right? And nothing in the game can stand against you. But you have to put in the work of grinding out job levels for the Onion Knight. And the way to do that is to have one guy attacking and three guys guarding. And you go to a part of the game, for example, where at the very beginning of the game, where there are goblins who cannot possibly damage you, and you essentially sit there, hit guard on everybody, and you take a bunch of hits. And when you take X number of actions in a combat, you get a job level. You get X amount of job points. And what you want to do to level up your jobs in Final Fantasy III is you want to go into a fight. You want to gain 400 job points.
Oh my goodness.
200 of which will be used to level up your dude. And then at the next fight, you'll get 200 job points or 201 job points because you'll get your level and then you'll prep the next level. And taking any action will get you between 4 and 10 job points. And the more effective your character class is at higher levels, the more job points you will need to advance that character. And so if you have the Onion Knight, you need 10 job points per level. You need the 200 points, but you only get 4 per action. And so to get that level, you need to guard 25 times.
Okay.
When you have the auto on, you say, okay, auto, boom, no, sorry. You need to do it 50 times. You just need 200 points. Yeah. So you need 4 points 50 times to get the 200 points to go up a level. You need 99 levels.
Yeah.
So 50 times 99 is a really big number. And
it sounds to me like you go to these goblins and then you set it up and you can walk away, go have dinner.
Yeah, well, basically you want to do that for 5 minutes or so. And then you hit one attack and you do it. The way I've found to make it even remotely interesting is to have the Dragoon or the Dragon Knight as a jump feature. And so you go to a place where you can fight 2 to 3 enemies at once, which is the southeast Saronia Tower. You can basically you're wandering up the thing, and there's a bunch of different dudes in there. Or you go to the Cave of Shadows, which is where the ninjas train. And whenever you hit something in the Cave of Shadows, they summon something else to fight. So if you don't use specific ninja weapons, which will kill you with one shot, or rather, which will stop you from regenerating, you could basically get an infinite supply of enemies that you can fight with. And so you set the Dragoon to jump as his automatic action, jump. And so what he does is he leaves combat for a round, while everyone guards. And everyone guards. and then he comes back down, hits a bad guy, kills it, and then somebody else summons another bad guy, and then he jumps away again. And so you have everybody guarding, and then the Dragoon does nothing but jump up and down all the way through. So the Dragoon is not advancing in levels as fast as everybody else, but he's still taking 2 actions a turn. He's either hitting something or jumping, hitting something or jumping. So he gets his 4 points, but he's not doing anything. And you're not doing anything, you're just waiting for him to jump. And so I was grinding like that on Onion Knights for a while. I said, this is bullshit. I'm just gonna go and finish the game, and I'll do this some other time. Because it was the most boring thing I could possibly do with my time. And so when I'm watching, I was listening to a podcast about Star Trek Voyager. Right? That was the more entertaining part of my day, was listening to this podcast over and over again. These two guys talking about podcasts and talking about Star Trek. Wow, oh, kitty, yay!
Yeah. Sorry, I had to do this to shut her up.
No, it's fine. Mine are locked out in the other room. They don't come in here when I'm streaming anyway. But the most important part of what I was doing was listening to that podcast and then playing an iPad game here on my iPad, on which I was also listening to the podcast. And so I'm going, okay, oh, yeah, got my controller right here. Okay, awesome. Yeah, automatic. Okay, that's right. And I was getting a job level every combat, right? But I got to level 29. It's like, I have to do this 72 more times. I want to do anything else than this. I will go do it those 72 times, but then there's 15 other fucking jobs that I need to level up besides Onion Knight. 15 level jobs, 15 other jobs to get to level 99 to get the master weapon for that class and the master card for that class. And if you want to get those weapons equipped on every single character, you need to level every character's job to 99 in every job, which there's a badge for.
Oh. You are much more into the badges and achievements than I am.
I doubt I will do it, to be honest. If I get to level 9, character level 99, not job level, but character level 99, and I'm only halfway through the jobs, I'll make sure that I've covered all the jobs. But I won't get all the jobs on all the characters. Because there's just no point. There's just no point. Now, there is content in the game that you can only take on when you're level 80, which is the Iron Giant's Cave. This is the question mark dungeon. And to do that, you need characters who are tough as nails, and they're not going to get one shot by this bad guy, who's the first boss, the first thing you face in the dungeon. So you know when you're ready to do this dungeon, when you can walk in and take more than one hit. And if you walk into this thing and he hits you once, and you die, everyone dies. All right, well, great. We'll level up some more. And good thing I saved before I came in, because if you didn't save before you came in, guess what you just lost?
Oh, yeah.
Time and brains.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm done. Rant off.
Okay, I'm going to change direction a little bit on this.
Okay.
What is your opinion of the story?
I think the story is a traditional hero's journey. It's a chosen one narrative. And one of the things I like about the story of Final Fantasy III is the revelation, which is about an hour and a half into the game, where everyone's an orphan. And the two characters who grew up together didn't even think about being orphans because they knew they were orphans their entire life, right? So it's go, yeah, well, they found us and they took us in. You know, they loved us. They're our family. Everything's cool. Right. But they spent their entire life, because they're teenagers, in this tiny village. But if they walked, 6 inches down the screen, there's another village that they never went to because they were kids. And so until they were called out with the Chosen One narrative, they didn't need to go on this quest. But now they're on a quest. And so they go on the quest, they do a thing, and they find another orphan who's with them for like half an hour before it's revealed that she's an orphan. And that only comes up because they're doing the Spider-Man pointing thing at this other guy. He says, what, you guys are orphans? I'm an orphan. She goes, I'm an orphan too. They're going like this. And they're pointing around like this. It's like,
Yeah.
oh wow, we're all orphans. That's so weird. And then it's another hour of gameplay before the old man with the airship says, okay, here's the deal. You're all orphans. I know this because you were all babies on a ship that I was flying, and the ship crashed up here. And I made sure that you all had families that you could live in and be happy. It's like, oh, great, that's awesome. That orphan chosen one narrative is endemic in Japanese RPGs because it's endemic in Japanese history. It's the God Foundling. It's the special chosen one who is taken in by kindly parents. It's a Superman narrative, right? Taken in by kindly parents, taught important values, and then sent out into the world. And it turns out that you're an evil clone of somebody, or maybe you're a non-evil clone of somebody, and that's why you have fantastic powers. So that story is great. Is the chosen one narrative and the found family narrative, and as it going through there, the immortal cycle of darkness and light, I liked a lot, and so especially since the period of time that you're in as a player is an aberration. This is the end of the cycle. This is the part where the cycle has overcome, and you have to go balance things out. Darkness is the war the the people who are supposed to be the guardians of light and dark, guardians of balance, have fallen to darkness, and now darkness is going to take over. And there's 1,000 years of darkness coming, or rather, this is the end of 1,000 years of darkness because the last 1,000 years ago cycle was the warriors of dark, and you were the warriors of light. And the warriors of dark protected the world from being out of balance because light had gotten too powerful. And now dark has gotten too powerful, so warriors of light have been called to save the universe and bring balance back to everything. So that's a great story. It's an awesome story. Is that you are actually the bad guys in Final Fantasy 3, but you're saving the
I
world.
see. I I can't necessarily agree with you on that one, but yeah, I was thinking at some point it's like, is there a game where you're the warriors of the dark? You know, is there a Final Fantasy that does that?
There isn't, which is I think one of the reasons why Final Fantasy 3 is so interesting because it brings in this element where you're you're taught that darkness is bad, and all the adults, most of whom die in the course of this narrative. They tell you darkness is bad. You got to fight against darkness. You got to fight against darkness. And when you get to the end, it turns out that darkness is not bad. Darkness is the same as light. They need to be in balance. And when one is too powerful, bad things can happen. And the bad thing that happened here is that the people who were supposed to protect the balance were corrupted by darkness and gave way to it. And so once that corruption starts, the darkness just overs. But darkness is itself not bad. It's simply darkness, which
Yeah.
is why you've got half the character classes are dark based in the job system. There's a dark knight, there's ninjas, there's dark mages, there's all these people who use black magic, and black magic isn't bad. It's just black. It's just destructive. Whereas magic is almost ineffectual. It can't deal any damage. It can only react. It can't be proactive. And so, except for the strange case where you can turn yourself into a toad, white magic in Final Fantasy 3 is not proactive. There's nothing you can do to affect objects. You can only react to the fact that I took damage, or I've been poisoned, or I've been blinded, or I've been petrified. And I have a spell. There's an app for that. I have an app in my my white mage toolbar to fix the status problem that happened. Or you can put on a piece of gear which prevents you from taking status effects.
Yeah, the ribbon.
You put on a ribbon, which is a suboptimal defense choice. It's not as good as every other bit of defense you can have at the end of the game. Guess what it does? You don't get blinded or poisoned or petrified anymore, which means that you can actually finish the game.
Yeah, that's one. I'm going a little on a tangent here. That is one thing there that was awesome and frustrating at the same time. Is all of the status effects. Okay, I mean, tactically speaking, they can really help you out if you can inflict them on other people. Problem is, 90%, 90 odd percent of the time, if I tried to put a status effect even on the lowliest creature, miss.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I disappeared when I said that. But yeah, it would pop up miss, and it was so frustrating that way. But I like the thing is it is another thing in tactics you got to keep in your brain. So
Yep. Yeah. That ah,
so
I just had a brain fart. I lost my train of thought. I was going to respond to that, but I don't have to. But you've got another thing you want to talk about.
well, I was
I'll
gonna
point
ask,
that
it's
way.
like how many this way that way, I don't
No, you got it right. I didn't.
care. How many of the Final Fantasies, ouch, have you played?
I have played almost all of them. So I played 1 through 10. I played
Okay.
11. I did not play 12 because it was an MMO and I wasn't playing MMOs at the time. But you also
Mhm.
had to have an internet connection specifically on your PlayStation 2. And if you didn't have that modem and paying for the internet like that, you couldn't play
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 12. I did
I
play bits of Final Fantasy 13. I own it. I'm going to play it again. I've played bits of Final Fantasy. It's not 15. It's one that was on the iPad, and I played it for a while, and I really enjoyed it. But I haven't played the MMO versions of Final Fantasy. I haven't played Final Fantasy Online, and I haven't played 16, which came out. So effectively, I stopped playing Final Fantasy new games in 2009
you go. Yeah.
when I started playing. Basically, when I started playing Terra, I
All right. I gotta ask you about Terra because I've never heard of it.
okay.
Okay. It sounds interesting. I mean, is it on Steam or?
It was on Steam. So this is probably a topic for another stream, but I've talked about it in the past.
Okay.
So I wrote the game Terra,
Mm.
not scripted it, but I handled the English localization for it as part of a team of writers, and I started doing that in 2009, and I did it right up until 2020 when it was decided to sunset the Western localization of the game. And what happened was, at that point, Terra reverted to a basic translation of the Korean source, which happens to have been, in many ways, also written by me. So, having been involved with the development cycle of the game for so long, I basically played it every day for a decade, and I got really good at it all the way through. So, it is a game that chose a chosen one narrative, but it's also a game where you're all soldiers. And so there are no factions. You are simply fighting against a corrupted version of a creator myth. So there are two titans, Arun and Shara, who represent light and darkness. And they themselves are in balance. In fact, they are sleeping titans who are the continents of the world that you're on. And so one of them is named Shara, one of them is named Arun. You are literally walking around on their corpses, whether they're sleeping bodies. But they willed as refugees from another dimension in a war that's never mentioned what they were actually fighting or where they were fighting it. They came to another universe, created it themselves, went to sleep, and dreamed all of existence into existence, including the first gods, who are called the children of Ruin and the children of Shara. And those gods grew up and discovered the power of creation and created their own creatures, which were the lower races. And so they're the gods, they're demigod creations because they had children together, and then they made mortal races. And those mortal races eventually grew up to rule the world, but their their civilization is stagnated at X level. It has not progressed because the great races who fought each other, the giants, the dragons, early on in the history of the world, destroyed the world. It's actually post-apocalyptic fantasy. But you don't know it is that until you get to the point where you're fighting dragons and giants yourself. And you are the remnants of this stuff. But the gods in that world are people you can walk up and talk to. You don't have to worry about whether it's right to worship a god or not. You don't worship gods. You go and talk to them, or you ask them questions, or saying, hey, do you want to come tank this mission for me? And they'll say, yeah, sure, why not? I'd love to take that mission. So that's the weird parts about the game, is that the story isn't bound in any specific narrative. The narrative is your story, and you can have as many characters as you want, and you can take as many characters as you want through as many different versions of the story. There are missions in zones all over the world, and a lot of them get skipped in favor of the fast line of leveling. But you could do whatever you want in that game, except for if you're a warrior, you use swords and you use light armor. You don't get to pick that. You don't get to pick. You can pick which swords you want to use, but the truth is, you pick the best sword you could possibly afford, and you put that on. There's just no question about it. No issue. You take the best gear you could possibly get, because when you get to the end game, if you're not using the best gear, you fail. And so we talked about the grind level, right? And I said, shut up and hunt. Well, this was the design philosophy of our designers, shut up and hunt, because this is the leveling curve. This is the gear curve. It's a point where you will have to equip suboptimal gear to progress. And then there's a point where if you don't have the best possible gear, you can't do anything. You will not be able to encounter certain content. And that is not a problem with Final Fantasy III, because if you don't die instantly, you can handle the problem. And the leveling curve is set by the story. When you can encounter certain areas of Final Fantasy III, you're just below, right at, or just above the level you need to be to encounter that content. Terra is not like that. It's an MMO. In fact, it's a PvP-based MMO. And so the actual content is players fighting each other. But the game and how it progresses, we didn't release it with the PvP enabled because we wanted people to have a good MMO experience. Not that PvP is bad. We want them to have an experience that they were familiar with, that was palatable to Western audiences, and also enabled them replayability. When I say sunset, I mean that the game was handled by the European distributor for a while, and we had launched Terra on Xbox and PlayStation a couple years after we launched it on Steam. And the game still exists, Terra Console, as it was effectively when I stopped writing it. And so there are servers on Xbox and PlayStation that are very valuable and very active. And if you have an Xbox or PlayStation, you want to play Terra, do so, please. It's a fantastic game. I can't play it anymore. I can't, because all of my
every day for 10 years.
No, that's not the problem. I would play the game gladly right now. But when they sunset the game, they remove my name from the credits.
Oh.
That's a problem for me. I'm a writer.
Yeah.
My resume is my work. And my name was removed from the credits. The name of my studio was removed from the credits, even though my work and my words actively appear in the game as it exists right now. So I don't play it anymore. I can't.
Wow.
Like being forced to live in a house with your ex-wife. It's not fun for anybody.
Oh.
And so rather than being a bitter old man, I just stopped playing. And I started playing other games and doing other things. And luckily, City of Heroes, the private servers were ramping up. I had been playing on a private server for a while, but after I lost my job and became the unemployed monster that I am today, I started playing a lot of City Heroes because I could. I had a thing that filled that respect while I was looking for jobs. And off and on, I've had a couple jobs over the years since then, but I'm unemployed right now, and I've been unemployed for a year. I played a lot of City of Heroes in the last year while I'm looking for work. And I spend the mornings looking for work, and then I spend the evenings playing video games or writing or not writing, as the case may be, or watching television. But that issue where the largest part of my resume is inaccessible to potential employers is an issue.
I can understand that.
Yeah, but please play Terra. It's a fantastic game. It's great. I had a lot of fun playing it. It had some of the best game mechanics I think I've ever played.
Well,
Simply because of the
currently,
non-targeting combat.
okay. It sounds interesting. The problem is you said it's an MMO.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Small break for 20 seconds. I need to get a drink here.
No worries. He's drinking invisible water. Ah.
Yeah.
Well, we have been talking for an hour straight.
Oh, have we? Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things I mentioned to Smoke before we started is that I worked out a format so that we could do things in section, so that we didn't have to do that. And his response was, "I'd rather just talk. I don't want to take a bunch of breaks and do a bunch of things and be working about this all day." Now we've been talking for an hour about a game that we both kind of like, but kind of don't like, and we could talk for another hour easy. So,
oh, absolutely. You have been doing a good job being my shepherd, because I like start going on a tangent and then you're like, oh, no, none of that. And I actually thank you for it. But
no worries.
yeah, if you let me tangent, yeah, you'll never get me to shut up. So
So why don't we you and I keep talking, but let's wrap this episode. So here's the deal up.
okay.
Do you have? We talked about what we liked and disliked. We talked about some of the challenges of playing a game like this. We have talked about how it compares to other games. You asked me about the story and how I like the story. How did you like the story?
I thought it was okay. I mean, once again, this is a case of this is a fairly early RPG,
Yep.
and overall, you call it a trope. I call it a simple plot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there is a lot of discoveries that is not okay. I was taught that any writing to tell a story is you have to have a problem to solve.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there was a lot of revelations in the game that were just background information. And I'm like, well, that's cool, but how are we progressing the story? We need to make another attempt at solving crap, or make
Yeah.
progress towards. That was the only issue I had with. Now, mind you, some of the later the later Final Fantasies, like 7 and 8, that I have some experience with, the the storyline in those got way convoluted.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
on
yeah,
rails
it's
too.
really
That's the thing. It's on rails and it's complicated and it's driving you forward because you have no choice. You don't make choices in that game.
right.
Whereas here in this early one, you make nothing but choices. But you don't make
Yes.
choices in Final Fantasy VII. You don't make them in Final Fantasy VIII.
No, yeah. Like I said, the early game. It is one of the beacons, one of the examples of a good RPG, early RPG. So yeah,
You
I
talking about
thought.
those first couple hours of Final Fantasy III?
I'm sorry.
You talking about the first couple hours of this game?
I'm Yeah. I'm talking about, yeah. Well, actually, the entire game. It is an example of what things should be at the time.
Oh yeah. If I was writing a standalone game, I would write a game a lot like this. I absolutely would. Uh, it is self-contained, but also it references the meta narrative of Final Fantasy. Uh, it introduced elements that are built upon in further games. it's a shame. It really is a shame that this game didn't see wide release in the United States, but it hit at the time when they were switching consoles and they didn't want to remaster it for a different console. So it just languished until 2006. And it, what we what we saw released here as Final Fantasy 3 was actually Final Fantasy 5. And what we saw released here as
Oh,
Final Fantasy 2 was actually Final Fantasy 4.
yes, I remember that because it's like Final Fantasy One was three. I remember that. That was so confusing
Correct.
at the time, at least, because we didn't wait. What this came from elsewhere?
Yeah.
There's a world beyond the Americas.
It's it's viable to look at
Yeah,
games this way. So when I'm tired of playing Final Fantasy 3, which will probably be in about another week, I'll be able to level up games and whatnot. I'm honestly going to start playing Final Fantasy 4 because there's a 3D remake of Final Fantasy 4, which I have never played.
you know what? Like I said, I originally got eight because of the whole thing with magic.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw you playing three, and I'm like, well, sure, what the hell? And it turned out to be really cheap, so
For
I
like
was
five or
willing to
six
get it.
bucks, yeah, it's not that expensive.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to be doing a similar thing where I'm going to be taking a look at number four as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, let's plan on that for sure.
Okay.
Because we'll share some resources. We'll talk more about that. This is intended for YouTube, right? So I am going to, in the comments for this video, I'm going to link to WeMod. I'm going to link
Oh, yeah.
to the walkthrough that I used to play. Was that?
Cheat engine?
Oh yeah, the cheat engine. I'll link the cheat engine. I'll link to the walkthroughs I used and the IGN guides that I use because I use them extensively.
Yes.
I used a walkthrough to make sure that I could about halfway through my initial playthrough, I started following a walkthrough because I figured I was missing some stuff, and I was.
Yeah.
But also, uh, that walkthrough just reminds you of the plot because one of the things I didn't like about Final Fantasy 3 is it's too open ended, and you will lose that narrative. You spend too
Oh,
much time away from the game, you will forget what you are supposed to do,
oh, yes.
and then
Oh,
you don't
totally.
know where
Yes.
to go. And so the walkthrough
Yes.
reminds you of where you have to go because there's no reminder that says you need to go this way or you need to go this way. You don't have an MMO where it says this is your current job is to do this.
Absolutely. That's why I died in that bog.
Yeah,
Because it's like I went and did something else, came back. It's like, okay, oh yeah, I got to go up here, and I died. Why? What? So yeah, I had to look it up. And you're right, IGN, good walkthroughs.
amazing walkthroughs, fantastic stuff. I've been using them for years.
Yes.
All right, so we kind of covered this, but let's talk specifically about that. Your final thoughts. What is the most
Uh,
important thing that people should take away from Final Fantasy 3? And specifically this 3D remake, because there's a Pixel Remaster remake too that I'll probably play at some point. But of just the blue screen and the sprites, because it's got
yeah.
different gameplay than this does. So this
I
game, this 3D remake, has different gameplay than the initial release of Final Fantasy 3, and is
I
specifically designed for the 3DS, but has been ported to more consoles than the original game ever got to.
I like sprite games. I'm actually playing one right now. I don't have a problem with the Final Fantasy being either sprite or 3D. I think that anybody, the young generation, I should say,
The
God,
youngins,
yeah, they should, if they can, take a look at the sprites. You
yeah.
know, learn the history of video games, guys. It's some of it is really fascinating.
Oh, I have a game. I have a game here on my iPad. I forget the name of it. I'm gonna look it up.
Actually, let me see here. I
But
got
it,
a
but it is that it's essentially you go on a tour of every RPG ever made, every RPG style ever made.
oh yeah, that's I know what you're talking about. I think it's oh crap,
I don't have it
something
installed.
DLC quest.
It may be something like that, but
Yeah,
essentially you start off as text based, then you go into sprites, then you go into basically monochrome on the Nintendo, then you go into full color sprites, and eventually you get to 3D as you're going through
yeah.
various things as the game evolves and the plots evolve. And it, boy, was that a nice retro thing. I played about 7, 8 years ago.
Oh,
It was a
man.
lot of fun, but then I ran. Oh yeah, I've got Final Fantasy on Steam. I could play that. I could go play these actual games rather than this homage to those games.
Yeah.
Plus, I was playing Terror every day, right? So I had my fix. Yeah, I agree with that final thought. Actually, I described in my previous So Here's the Deal video about this. I think Final Fantasy 3 is the most important game of the genre because it introduced so many con- concepts. Con-
Mechanics.
that's one of the words I'm trying to fit there. So many concepts and so many things that we take for granted now in RPG design. They came from this game, and I think it was a shame that more people didn't get to see this game. This game is 35 years old. 35 years old. This game. I'm still challenged by it, and I still enjoy it. There's not a lot of things from 35 years ago that I like as much as I like this game. Trust me, because the
I
90s were really blurry for me. And the things that I enjoyed doing in the 90s, I don't do anymore. I don't do any of those things anymore. But I play these games. I play these video games. My mother and I would play these games. My friends and I would play these games. When I lived down in Phoenix, where you live now, I played these games with my roommate. They were an important part of my life. They bridged a lot of the elements of my childhood and my adulthood. So now that I'm in moderate age, I'm not saying I'm middle aged because that implies that I have an end date, and I don't think that I do. But now that I'm of a certain age, and you and I are of a certain age,
mm,
we can look back at things like this and go, oh, man, that was a lot of fun. But when we get to Final Fantasy VII, right, which was a 25-year-old game almost, it was 1997 that game came out, right?
yeah. And and for the record, I
It's
think that
28
seven
years
was
old.
where I think that the number seven was where the series peaked.
Oh, I did. Well, I think 10 is where it peaked, but 7 is where it really it went everywhere. It was on the PlayStation. It was
Hmm.
a fantastic game, and it took you forever to play. Plus, it was replayable. It was so replayable in a way that other ones weren't. You couldn't. Your progress kept going up, and that was a feature that was introduced in the Dragon Quest series of games, which I'll definitely cover. I've played a couple of them all the way through, but 3 to 3 to 7 is a great continuum, and then 8 is a much different game. 8 is an animated game rather than a polygon based game, and it's got a different game engine, and it's got different style of play. And so 8, 9, 10, and 11 are very different from 1 through 7, or rather 3 through 7, because 1 and 2 really aren't that great.
One of the reasons why, like I said, I started off by getting eight, the remaster of eight. One of the reasons why I switched to three uh, uh, is because I started getting frustrated with eight because you had to equip this and then assign that and just to get an attack in,
Yeah.
just to have the option to attack. And I'm like, why did you make this so fucking convoluted? Okay, it annoyed the crap out of me. I might still get back to it, but I don't know. Like I said, I remember seven being the best. I
Yeah.
may be wrong, but that's just
No, you're not wrong. 7 was transformative. In fact, 7 was the bridge to my life as a game designer. Because I came to Seattle to work in the games industry. I ran a
you know
warehouse
I
before I came over here. So
once again getting where I know I'm getting off the subject. I didn't know you were a freaking game designer. I thought you were just an author, and I shouldn't say just an author.
I have brought it up in the past. But yeah,
I
I was a game designer.
did you bring it up when we were doing the Discord thing at a Dark Ones party?
Most likely. I mean, that's where
Then
most of our
that's why I
interactions are.
didn't
Yeah.
remember. That's why I
Yeah.
didn't
I
remember.
uh I mean, we're at the end of the video, but I'll bring it up. So I came to Seattle to work on a card game called Legend of the Five Rings. That's part of the Five Rings publishing
Oh,
group.
wait.
And
Oh
then,
my.
yeah,
I know so many people involved with, you know, John Wick,
yeah, I know
and I
John
don't
Wick.
mean the movie John Wick. Yeah, there's a local John Wick who wrote the original
I did, yeah. No, I
Legend of
worked
the
with
Five
John
Rings.
at the time. I worked for the Five Rings publishing group.
Oh,
And
no idea.
a year or so after that, I started working on my actual dream job was working for TSR. And so I was TSR Omega. I was the last person ever added to the TSR org chart. After that, we all became just Wizards of the Coast employees. No, they weren't TSR employees anymore.
Oh my God.
But I ran the biggest D&D campaign in the world, and then I ran a bigger one. And I did that for a while. Before I started working on video games, I made tabletop role-playing games. So, and I got into that sort of thing because of our friends, the Dark Ones. Because we used to run role playing games at local Phoenix area conventions. And to do so, we had to join the RPGA, the Role Playing Game Association.
Uh,
My job for TSR was to run the RPGA. And so I was able to go look up my old play history from 1990 in 1998 when I took over the organization and say, "Oh yeah, I played these games. I played that. I remember that. I remember playing those scenarios very clearly." So
well,
it's simply it brings things back home. You know, all the different games I've played, they all brought me to where I am today, where I can go back and revisit these cool games I like to play with cool people.
that actually reminds me when we were talking about video game history, I kept forgetting. In the 80s, mid to late 80s, there was a series of games made by a company called SSI,
Yep,
Strategic Simulations Incorporated. They were, as far as I know, the first electronic Dungeons and Dragons game.
they were,
It,
and I've got them all on Steam.
oh, God, so do I. And oh my God, while yes, the sprites, they're ugly as sin,
Yeah,
but oh my God, the play style and everything, it the play style holds up in my opinion.
it does
Okay.
turn-based stuff like that. I mean, even the Buck Rogers game, it holds up because it was second
Oh
edition
my
D and
God.
D. It was just Buck Rogers.
Sorry. Thank you for stamping a date on my forehead there.
Yeah,
So many people, so many kids are going to be looking at this saying, saying it's like, who the hell is Buck Rogers?
yeah, yeah.
And it's like, but yeah, um, yeah, that was one of my favorite game series. Oh my God, I would have to say my favorite video game of all time. If somebody put a gun to my head,
But you should never do,
Fallout, yeah,
as mentioned
Fallout
earlier,
2, Fallout 2.
Fallout 2. I looking forward to playing it. I have a copy of it on Steam, and it's
Oh,
I've always found other things to do than play Fallout. I could go play Civ. I could go play City of Heroes. I could go play Terra or
okay,
Final
wait, wait, wait.
Fantasy. And so Fallout for me is one of those games that I've owned and I've had on numerous game consoles, and I've just never got around to playing.
Well, okay, have you played Fallout 1?
Nope.
Okay,
I own them all and I've
I
played
would.
none of them.
Okay, I highly recommend you do one first, but I got to give you a warning about it. That they don't tell you, and this is not really a spoiler, so to speak, as it would change your game style, is the fact that as soon as you start that game, your character's on a clock.
Awesome. Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I love the ticking clock.
I, and the thing is, it's like you have a clock for the main, and it'll show you. It's like this is how many days you have left. The thing is, once you solve that problem, then you're on another clock, and you have no idea about it unless you find it in the plot.
Now I'm looking.
And
Now you've piqued my interest. I'm definitely
oh
looking
god,
forward to that
it
game.
dude, I really one of the reasons why I like Fallout 2 better than Fallout 1 is because you can keep playing the game after you finish the main quest.
Most things.
There's not really there's not a bunch to do. but still you can keep on playing it. I think it's so freaking awesome. But yeah, number one, unforgiving, sir. Really unforgiving. It is brutal.
All
And
right.
wow.
Well, I guess that wraps up our coverage today of Final Fantasy III's 3D remake. I have been your
Yes.
host, Scott James Magner, the idiot with a microphone. This is my friend Smoke. And our stream is ending. So, as mentioned, I don't own. I'm a game designer and an author, and I write novels for a living. So, as this is an artist entertainment webcast, why not buy some books? This is my speech that I have to give at the end, so people buy some books. Plug that merch. I don't have any except for what I do have. I mentioned earlier that as an author and a writer, my resume is my work. And so my resume here, when you're buying my books, is that I get to put my thoughts into your brain matter. And so Ars Entertainment is a progressive publisher who focuses on independent authors and the stories that they tell. You can go to my website, arsentertainment.com. You can see on screen now. You can get a free book written by me, Homefront. It's my science fiction novel from 2014, which I later turned into a trilogy of science fiction novels, to which I'm adding more all the time. We've got. But get back to you just a moment. I need to finish my pitch, and then you can talk. No, it's all right because I had. Well, you know what? Screw it. Buy some books. Trust me. We'll do the thing. All right.
And actually, you don't stop the recording yet.
I went back to our room here so
Okay.
people could see
All
your
right.
face.
Okay. Yeah. I just got to say, I am very, very embarrassed because I have that trilogy of books and I have not read them yet.
All right.
I am so sorry.
That's okay. Why would you be sorry?
Because I haven't read them yet.
Well, there's an easy fix to that.
I know.
Like everybody else, buy some books, enjoy them, share them. You know, as a game designer, right? When people skip the text, it doesn't annoy me as much as you think it might. It makes me sad because a lot of work goes into the text that shows up on screen, especially when it's a localized game like Final Fantasy or even Terra, the game that I worked on for so long. You can just skip right through all the text. But there's some gems in there, especially weird byplays in Final Fantasy 3. So read that text for all over there, buy some books, share them with your friends, and we'll see you next time. This has been So Here's the Deal. Bye for now.
Be safe, everyone.